All right, you guys. So I decided to make Kevin's life more difficult because when we were at Floor and Decor, I decided to go with tile that's 48 by 24 inches. And it's really critical when you're working with big tile like this to make sure that the wall is perfectly straight. With smaller tile, you can kind of get away with a little bit of a wavier wall if it's not perfectly straight. But in this case, it's really critical for the wall to be straight. And let's just say the wall is a little unlevel. What you could do is you can build it out a bit with mortar to make it more level. And in the spirit of making Kevin's life more difficult again, so I decided to go with a double vanity, which of course means that he had to plumb in, for two different sinks. And then again, making his life more difficult was instead of doing LVP on the floors, I decided to go with tile. So here we are in the bathroom. I think I showed you this the last time too, but all is the drywall is done. The fans are located in there, electrical, all the plumbing. So now what Kevin's gonna be working on is waterproofing the shower, and then hopefully he'll start tiling the floor today. And a reason why the plumbing and electrical was able to move so quickly is that we actually have direct basement access on the other side of this wall, which I'll show you right now. You can see here, this was actually one of the original entrances to the house that they closed off a really long time ago. And this is essentially has just been a little closet. Like they still left all this kind of stuff here. And if you find this interesting, this used to be a single family home, and this was one of the staircases that went all the way upstairs. And then unit 2 is actually right above us. But all the way over here is that shared bathroom wall. So this is what made access to the plumbing and electrical so easy, and how he was able to fly through it pretty quickly. Now, the previous tenants that were in here actually had laundry downstairs in the basement, and that's not something that we wanted to continue offering going forward. That's why we ended up putting the laundry hookups in the bathroom, and it's also just a lot more convenient in my opinion. Okay, so what Kevin's working on now is called Red Guard. This stuff is pretty cool. It goes on pink when it's wet, and then when it dries, it turns red. And the whole point of this is to make sure that the shower is completely waterproofed. So you're gonna put a nice thick coat on this, and essentially between the cement board, doing the seams, and the Red Guard, will avoid any future leaks. All right, so as you can see here, the Red Guard is now red, which means it's dry and it's fully waterproofed and we're ready to tile. And if you remember what I said earlier, when it comes to using big tiles like this, it's really important that the walls are completely straight. And as you can see here, Kevin had put up that second tile, but needed to remove it because simply the wall wasn't straight and it was just a mess. But the good news is if you're ever in this position, it's pretty easy. If you work with mortar before it dries, it's pretty forgiving. So you were able to scrape it off the wall and kind of reset, come up with a game plan to figure out how to get the wall more level. And ultimately what he ended up doing was just filling it in with a bit more mortar. So everyone thinks that I'm Kevin's supervisor, but in reality, it's this guy right here. Wags runs the show, and as you can see, he's being inconvenienced by the last two tiles that need to go up on the wall. They're interrupting his walk, so let's cue the music for one last cut. The last two tiles are officially on the wall. All there's left to do is to clean the grout lines and remove the spacers. At this point, I started to feel bad how difficult I've made this project for Kevin based off of the various different materials and vanities that I selected. So we decided to do this together for tiling the floor. And I really do think that Kevin's patience should be studied because it's pretty incredible. So essentially what Kevin had me do was all on the floor just from other spackle drying. He made me chip it off just to make sure we had a nice level floor. And then after I chipped it all off, he made me vacuum to make sure that there was no debris left behind. And the system that we decided worked best was Kevin went and mixed the mortar. And by the way, this mortar, it was absolutely terrible. It's called Quickset, and it just dries way too quickly. I guess if you are a professional and you know what you're doing, it's fine. But for me, that was learning. It was just drying way too quickly. So what Kevin did before we started was he dry fit the tile and he made sure to cut around for the toilet flange. But after he did that, like I mentioned, he just went and did the thin set to get the mortar prepared. What he was doing was laying the mortar down on the ground, and I was doing a technique that they call buttering. Essentially, I was taking the tile and putting a very thin layer of mortar on the back of the tile so that after the mortar was down on the ground, like you see Kevin doing now, it's more adhesive. And the system that we had worked pretty well together. We were able to get through it relatively quickly. We finished within the day. This trouble really was just using this mortar. Probably won't use it again. All right, you guys. So basically what happened before we went to lunch was I was cleaning out that bucket with this hose. And then when I was done, I was like, great. And I just kind of like threw it, I guess. It must have hit one of these rocks, broke, was leaking water under all the wood and the cement bag. And then now, as Kevin's mixing it all up, it wasn't his fault, but because it's so wet, it cracked, and now this is where we are.
Work with what we got.
Yeah. A few bathroom updates. So Kevin worked really hard and started to put door framing here, and he has the baseboard trimmed down, and he also did this right here. So everything's starting to look really, really great. Something that I wanted to call out is this shower is going to be a glass door, and as you can tell, there's no shelf in here at all. So to avoid tenants putting like that sticky stuff on the tile to, hang like their shampoo and conditioner and things, what we ended up just finding quickly on Amazon are these trays, and they go in when you do the grout, so they're super sturdy, and we don't have to worry about tenants putting anything on the tile with those like really strong adhesives that are tough to come off. So yeah, these were a great solution, and I can link them in the description below. If you follow us on Instagram, you would have saw our poll on our stories. What we ended up doing is, of course, priming the walls, and then we ended up going with some paint. Now, we always get our paint from Sherwin-Williams. We ended up choosing, it's called Greek Villa for the walls and Accessible Gray for the trim. And the reasons why we picked those colors is we wanted to pull the colors from the tiles veining in to make it feel like a cool, vibey spa, but it ended up just being terrible. I think the trim looked very muddy, and it was really just making this brand new renovated bathroom look incredibly dated. So despite the poll results that everyone said it's fine, leave it, it'll grow on you, we ended up changing our minds. So we ended up buying Sherwin-Williams Sea Salt for the walls, and the trim is going to be, I believe, just pure Sherwin-Williams Pure White. So I'm gonna end this video here. Stay tuned to see the final bathroom reveal in the next video, and we're also going to start showing you all the work that's been going on in the kitchen.